Okay, next item then would be the GRWA negotiations. As at least council knows, the GRWA meeting on the 8th of September, the authority discussed the last letter that we had sent them, which included a request for us to start talking again, to get back to the table. And the authority did agree to do so. For our representatives to meet with their executive council, and basically left it up to us to offer up, a couple of dates that to meet. So what I would suggest is that the same individuals that met with them the previous time, which would have been myself, Mr. Olson, Tom, and Neil Nelson, meet with them again, and just to talk this issue out. Questions or comments?
Well, I do have issues with this, and I told you I was going to bring it up. I did happen to go to that water authority meeting when they talked about it, and when Jean asked who was going to meet, you did tell her that it would be the same individuals that met last time, and that was something that we had not decided at a council meeting. We left it up in the air of who was going to meet, where we were going to meet. We talked about, we ran by the whole council meeting, we ran by the same people meeting, we ran by different places that we were going to have it, and nothing was written in stone. I didn't have a chance to be on the first negotiating committee, so to speak, because I was in Mexico when you guys had that meeting, so I wasn't there for when you did that. I did express concern to you that I did want to be on there, and my feeling was that you have been on the GRWA. You do attend all their meetings, so at that point in time you do have your say-so at the GRWA, and we don't with the GRWA. So I just felt that, seeing as you have been at the GRWA meetings, you have voiced your opinion there, it was time for some new faces to meet with them. To hear some of our points of view other than just yours at the meeting.
And as we have discussed, the committee that was formed back in March or April, whenever we first met with them, was a standing committee. It doesn't make sense in my mind that we appoint new members every time there's a new meeting. I think the argument that I'm already on the water authority is an argument that I should be there, along with Mr. Olson with his past experiences of being on the authority, and Tom and Neil's presence, I think, with their expertise in their own areas, makes sense that they be present also. The fact that I've made my arguments, they're not my arguments. The arguments that I've made in the two times that this has come up for discussion are arguments of this council. I wasn't giving my opinion, I was giving the opinion of this council, and the arguments that I made were the arguments as to why the city believes that the line shouldn't go through, not why Fraulo believes the line shouldn't go through. They're not my opinions. So, I hear what you're saying, Linda, I can understand, I can respect it, but as far as I'm concerned, the committee that originally was there is a committee that should be there for this next round of discussions. If other members of the council feel differently, now's the time to bring it up.
I just do disagree with you, because I think that this whole transmission line has been in the works for 5 years. 5 years ago is when they initially started talking about it, and it's never been brought to the city council. In the 2 years I've been on it, we haven't talked about it until I brought it up at one of the meetings. So I would like to be on there. I do have a lot of issues with this temporary transmission line, because that's all it is. It's just a temporary transmission line that's maybe put in and used for a year, and then it won't be used anymore. And that's come right out of the words of the GRWA's mouth.
I've never heard them use the word temporary, but I'm sure with Neil's presence there, these technical... Yeah, Steve, anything that's technically related to this, Neil is more than capable of advising. So, again, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to defend myself, my positions, or what I've said in the past. I would disagree with some of the timelines that we've used, but again, we could be here all night for it. So, again, as far as I'm concerned, the committee stays the way it is. If any other members of council feel differently, now's the time to speak, and and then we'll change it if the majority wants. Otherwise, it stays the way it is.
Just one comment. And I agree with your statements that you gave reasons why. There's another reason why, too. We had one meeting with the city's people, the four of us have had, and so there's some mystery as to what they said at that meeting. That if we start replacing people with every time we change, it's going to be lost. Either it has to go back to the beginning again and start over again. Talk about what they've been in the past and such. My experience in negotiations is the second meeting, the third meeting, subsequent meetings build upon a previous one if possible. Not go back to the beginning. And I think by replacing people on the committee or in the middle of negotiations, it actually would be detrimental.
And continuity is a good point. All right, so let's formalize this. And I will make a motion that the negotiation committee consists of myself, Mr. Chattel, Mr. Olson, and Mr. Nelson. Supported by Mr. Olson. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
No.
Carried. All right, next
Mr.
up.
Mayor, may I just briefly?
Please.
I talked to the city attorney, who's going to be here tonight, when he heard the format for our discussion. There's really no reason for him to stay. And just one quick comment. There are a lot of wild rumors flowing. The Department of Transportation and USDA is not going to spend millions of dollars to tear up US 2 for a temporary transmission line. Maybe on the planet Mars, but not in western UP. I mean, that's just, I don't know where that's coming from.
It's coming right from the GRWA.
Well, then
I was told right from their mouths that this is a temporary
You were told, but you
transmission
didn't.
line. Right from the GRWA's mouth that this is a temporary transmission line until they get a water source in Ironwood Township. Once they get a water source in Ironwood Township, this line will be used strictly as a backup line.
Yeah, but think about that, Linda. If Ironwood Township were to incur the majority of the debt to put in a new transmission line,
And they will.
and then a year, 2 years, whatever number of years later, they're going to incur additional debt while still paying on this one for another 35 years, whatever. They're going to incur additional debt to find another water source.
Does Ironwood
I hate to be living in or be a member of that Ironwood Township board
Right.
if that were to happen.
I would too. Do they realize that?
Well, you know what, Linda? You raised a good question, and I think at the table, it should be raised. I mean, everything that we've been told has been predicated on a 40-year source, the Chicago line. Without repeating all our past discussions, we have numerous reservations about that. Now, if they're talking about a 40-year source of the Chicago line, investing millions of dollars on a temporary basis, that car doesn't have a driver.
And it was said that it was
So
going to be
we'll just ask them.
It was said it was going to be a temporary line
Well,
right from the beginning.
No,
And the rates,
actually, though, I don't believe the word temporary
Yes.
is used. While a comment was made that Ironwood Township still may seek their own source. That comment was made, yes, but the word temporary was I don't recall that ever used.
this was after the meeting when I talked to them. It was a temporary water source. And when you look right on the GRWA website, it says that they're putting a line in so Ironwood Township and Bessemer Township's rates will be reduced. And the GRWA has said right from their mouth that their rates will not be reduced in any way, shape, or form. This line is temporary until they find a water source in Ironwood Township, whether that be this year or next year.
Yes, that's a fair question. I think they ought to answer it because there's uncertainty about it, which raises a broader issue. I'm going to suggest to Doug and John that maybe a day or two before we meet with the GRWA. In fact, I'm not going to bother to repeat everything the city attorney said, but he really suggested that we have some structure, that we prepare, that we have a mutually agreeable format, because if we just sit down and argue, that's not helpful. And we can clarify some of that information. And the council people, for that matter, if the general public has some questions or there's some issues that they think are important for our attention, I think we'd all be interested in looking at it before we sit down at the table with the GRW.
That's an excellent suggestion, Mr. Chairman, get our act together so we can, so we go in there and know exactly what we're gonna do, or we all know the background. And then when they speak, they dare to try to single out any one of us to try to put us into, we'll be united better that way. Good idea.
And just for your info, it's not only been said by the GRWA, temporary, and the word is temporary, it has also been said by their engineers.
You know what, though? One of the things that has happened, and I think it's really positive that we're sitting down with the GRWA, is we've been negotiating with ourselves more than anybody else. They can't spend millions and millions and millions of tax dollars without a very definitive plan exactly how they're going to do it. And you hold all the leverage in the world because the project doesn't go unless you say yes. So I wouldn't sweat the rumors. I'd see if you can cut a deal.
You're very correct. I'll give you the details, get it done to happen.
Thank you.
All right, anything else on that then?